So hello, everybody. Again, I'm Christina Henderson, Executive Director of the Montana High Tech Business Alliance. Welcome to our virtual training, Google's Page Experience Update, Your Competitive Edge in 2021 and How to Get It with Austin Walker. This event is part of a series the Alliance is hosting with resources to help our communities deal with current events. You can find details of these sessions at mthightech.org/events. Our presenter today, Austin Walker, is the founder of Inbound Creation and a marketing instructor in the University of Montana College of Business, where he earned his MBA. Some of you may have joined us last August for Austin's previous presentation on SEO tips for a new economy. If you missed that session, don't worry. The recording, along with links to the recommended tools and resources, are available on our website. You can find that at mthightech.org/webinars. And we would ask you to keep your microphones muted until you have something to say. If you have a question or a comment at some point during the meeting, you can type it in chat or turn on your microphone if you want to speak. Today's presentation is being recorded. And with that, I'll turn the floor over to Austin Walker to get us started.
Hey, thanks a lot, Christina. And just to let everyone know, because that webinar is like 5 or 6 months old, it probably is no good anymore. So the information might be a little out of date because SEO just moves so quickly. But I'm sure at this point you guys are really curious about Google's page experience update, which should be rolling out here in the next couple months. And this is just one perspective I've had as far as the strategy and how to deal with that update, and to make sure that one, we're not like, oh crap, we're gonna lose like a ton of traffic. And then two, that we know how to actually go and handle everything so that we can overcome our competition, especially those ones that we've been trying to overcome for a long time, to catch them off guard and go take their traffic. So just so you guys know, as far as the presentation, I generally like to take a 10,000 foot perspective of everything, then follow with about a 100-foot perspective, start getting more towards the ground, and then we're going to workshop it and hit the ground directly. Okay, and I will follow up with a handful of resources that I will outline within this presentation to give you guys something to refer to down the road. But also so you can just look and see for yourself just kind of where I'm pulling my information from and why this should work, okay? So first off, I want to open up to the floor here for a minute. I want to know what you guys have heard about Google's page experience update and how this algorithm might change your business. So what have you guys heard so far? And feel free, anyone, just speak up.
We have one comment, nothing.
Oh, oh, in the chat here? Okay.
In the chat, more focus on mobile performance.
Ooh, good one. Yep. Google's actually been focused on mobile performance for quite a while now. And even like our website with Salt Lake City Bookkeeping, as well as a lot of other websites, mobile performance is ranked first. So they're actually using their mobile crawler. And if you go into Google Search Console, you can see which one they use particularly to crawl your site with. But mobile performance is big. So yeah, that's really great. But yep, so also with the page experience, a lot of stuff on mobile may load more slowly, and that's one of the reasons why we might see that Google has been updating on the Web Vitals stuff. So anyway, we'll move into this here, but first off, I'm going to go through the page experience update and kind of why Google is doing this and what it means for us, and then everyone, we're all going to workshop together. Hopefully you guys had a chance to do the homework prior to the workshop and get signed up with the Ubersuggest. If not, you can always refer to the recording and check it out then, okay? Oh, of course. There we go. All right. So what the heck, Google? Why would they choose in this time to actually go through this huge algorithm or this big algorithmic update? We're already dealing with stress as marketers and as businesses from coronavirus and everything else. Well, algorithm updates are not anything new for Google. In general, we see about 300 updates, if not more, every single year. So almost every single day, Google has a minor update. But this one's kind of big. And we can assume that it's kind of big because of one reason. They gave us an advance notice by over a year saying, hey, this is what we're changing, and this is what you need to do in order to make sure you're not really affected. So that tells me as a marketer, first time ever, they're giving us this information and then giving us a year to make those updates. I think it's going to be pretty significant. Obviously, they'll never come out and tell us how big it is or what exactly is going to change in their algorithm. But the fact that they're giving us advance warning kind of worries me a little bit, okay? But first question I have for the audience, well, second question, how does Google get paid? You can answer through the chat or through your mic. How does Google get paid? Okay, I got Ray with advertising. Anyone have anything else? Yeah, it's a tough question because there's multiple streams of income, but advertising, number one, right? And in general, or like the reason why we need to know that is going back to this update here. If we know that Google is getting paid through advertising, well, we got another one: AdWords, Display Network, Cloud Services, World Domination. Yeah, so advertising. There's some data services in there, consulting, and they do have subscriptions to a bunch of different apps that they've developed over the year, but primary focus is advertising. And one of the reasons why that actually matters is think of, a friend or family member that you go to and ask them a question, they give you advice. If you take that advice and it doesn't really work out the way you thought it would, well, are you going to go back? Probably not, right? Instead, you might seek out a different source of information. Well, the same thing happens with any of our search engines, Google being primarily the dominant search engine by a lot. We have Bing and a lot of other smaller search engines that actually generally deploy Google's algorithm. But Google knows that if they can't deliver a great experience for their users, then they have less opportunities to advertise, and therefore they're going to make less money in the long run, right? So it makes sense to their business model to make sure that they deliver the best experience possible for any of their users so that people keep coming back over and over again. So what about this page experience? If we're Google and we're already trying to deliver this great experience, what is so specific to this one? Well, up to this point, we know things with SEO like on-page SEO and keywords and content and backlinks. Those are things that we've been developing and using for a long time. Or like mobile friendliness. That's something we've introduced already. Or safe browsing or HTTPS. Almost everyone has updated their websites to that so far. But now Google has to introduce the core web vitals, so meaning how our website is actually producing the experience for the end user, in order to make sure that that they are continually offering the best experience for their users. And this should be, Google has said they'll start implementing about mid to end of May this year, and that they'll be rolling it out. It'll probably be over a month or two as they continue to make adjustments to it. So any questions so far? All right, yeah, and feel free too, if you guys do have a question, just go ahead and stop me. Helps me understand, where I might have left someone behind, or if I'm, being confusing. So, okay. Yeah. And up to this point, we have over 200 ranking factors that we know of currently, right? And Google has actually come out to say we have three important ones. Number one and number two. Mark, you got a question about page speed insights?
Yeah, if you're going to cover it later, I can wait. But if you want it now, I'll throw it to you right now.
Yeah, I do have a couple slides on page speed insights, as well as it's something that I bring into the workshop. So
okay, I can wait. I'll just wait and see what comes up then.
Okay, great. All right, so we've got three ranking factors that are most important. Number one and number two are backlinking and content. This is not anything new. It's something we've been doing for a long time. And number three is RankBrain. Google has not told us which one they actually rank for first between backlinking and content. But if you ask me, I'm going to make an assumption. You cannot have a backlink unless you have content. And in order to deliver a good experience, as well as give Google an advertising spot, you have to have content available, okay? Whether that be a web page or a blog page. So if you ask me, content's number one, backlinking is number two, and then the artificial intelligence RankBrain, which puts all those other ranking factors into play, eventually goes into ranking your website. And then even stepping back just a little bit further of how we got here right now, I like to think of Google as making updates by pinwheel, analyzing the market to understand what exactly needs to be better as a whole, and adjusting their algorithm to make the market move there, okay? And what I have a dog sitting right here, so this was the best example that I could come up with, but 15, 20 years ago when Google was first introduced, you guys might remember keyword stuffing and doing all these searches, and we had all these big guys playing together, trying to figure out the internet. And well, we didn't have a ton of information available, and the algorithm from Google was not that great. You'd have to search multiple search engines. I still remember Ask Jeeves, if anyone still uses that one. But ultimately, there wasn't a ton of information available, and Google had to recognize, how do we find the closest information available to give someone the answer that they need to provide that good experience, okay? Well, then they shifted to starting to penalize people that are keyword stuffing and trying to manipulate Google really hard, to someone who are delivering better content and actually creating better answers to the questions that people are using, okay? And then ultimately, we had a ton of answers, we had a lot of really great answers to questions being answered. So Google goes, we need the best answer, and started to penalize people not giving those great answers, as well as benefiting the people who gave great content and now the best experience. Because ultimately, once we start getting way too much content, which I'm sure you guys feel the overload sometimes, we want to go as end users to go, hey, give me not only the best answer to my question, but I also want to make sure, going back to these core web vitals, that it loads quickly, that we don't have to wait around, and that ultimately we don't have like text popping all over the screen or any other thing that makes me not answer my question and have a really great experience quickly, okay? Here are the tools that I use to figure it out. I actually have a few more tools than this in the tool chest, but the only reason I'm giving these ones is because all of these are mostly free, if not completely free. Like Ubersuggest and Hotjar are things that you can get by on the freemium, and then PageSpeed Insights, Google, and YouTube are all things that obviously we can use for free. But these are the tools that I use to figure out, basically analyze my competition as to what they're doing, and then look at my own SEO to understand where I can improve and push them out, okay? You guys might have already seen the dashboard from Ubersuggest. It looks something like this, basically giving us a handful of information that lets us know, is our content running well? Give us a health check of our actual website, how many backlinks we're drawing, keywords we're actually ranking for, and all that good stuff, as well as give us a SEO score on average. And then it even pulls in page speed insights, which I'll cover here in a second, and how well your site is doing as a whole. These are all aggregate numbers for the website as a whole, so your entire URL. And then ultimately, like SEO issues that may be affecting your ranking. This is exactly what page speed insights looks like. I know it's scary because we have no clue what any of these mean. And if we do, it's because we've already started working in this. But don't worry, there are tools to find out what they mean and how to actually go about changing those. Okay, and that's what we'll do in our workshop here. And then this is just a screenshot from Hotjar. Hotjar gives us two pieces of information. One's more important than the other. But one, it tells us where people are clicking and basically giving us an indication of how good our experience might be on the page, right? But it gives us also a vital piece of information of where people aren't clicking, okay? Because that means we're wasting valuable real estate and we need to start testing different spaces within the site to go, hey, we could actually maybe draw more traffic or convert more users if we can do better with this unutilized space, okay? Any questions up to this point, guys? I know I'm going through this kind of fast, but I just want to make sure to get to the workshop and then ask any questions at the very end. Okay. And then, of course, we have our handy-dandy tools, Google and YouTube. Now, I didn't want to actually go through the definition or what these actually mean, but ultimately, I run into things that I'm like, what the heck does first meaningful paint even mean? And the best part is we have a ton of content that's already available, either from Google themselves or from other marketing agencies or people like Neil Patel, who will actually outline this for us. So I just honestly copy and paste it into Google or YouTube and just figure it out from there. But for time's sake, I mean, we could probably spend an hour going through all these as well as how to fix them, but you can find a lot of information just through Google, and that's one of the reasons it's one of my primary tools. And these are also some of the things I deploy as far as what we can look at to better understand our marketing strategy. Neil Patel's blog, Marketing School. Brian Dean, this is more the backlinking side and understanding how to promote your content to get more clicks, get more views, and hopefully get a couple backlinks in there. And then if you're just starting out to even more advanced, the HubSpot Academy and the SEMrush Academy, these are all free resources to learn more of the marketing tips and even like where I pulled this strategy from, okay? All right, so who cares about all this stuff? Well, ultimately, we know just from past experiences, either being on the management side or even working in the weeds and marketing, that there's a chance with a Google update in the algorithm that we're going to lose traffic, which might lead to losing leads and ultimately sales, right? But in general, the Google update or the Google algorithm updates are meant to give us a boost in the stuff we're doing really well and the answers and the experience we're giving to our users that are very good, and actually push away the traffic and the users that aren't necessarily looking for us. So like in my case, working for Salt Lake City Bookkeeping, maybe someone's looking for tax prep, landing on our site, they're not gonna have a great experience because we don't offer tax prep at all. Or sorry, we don't actually have a CPA that will do their taxes, right? So hopefully we push those guys away and rank up for the stuff that we do really well. But this can be definitely a lot of anxiety over like keyword rankings and how's my visibility going to be locally and nationally. So one of the things I'm trying to do in this workshop is actually look for the opportunity in this update. And that's what we're going to go through here in a second. But all I could say is it pays to be proactive. And ultimately, we're trying to catch our competitors not paying attention, and ultimately go and take their traffic from right out under their nose once this update hits. Okay. All right. Just to make sure that we cover your question on the page speed insights, Mark, what was your question?
Okay. I'm working with somebody to, improve my website, right? And I'm concerned about the speed because I'm well over your 8 seconds that you had on a previous slide. So, I got to believe Google is really penalizing me because my page loads really slow. And, I didn't try to put together a complicated website, and actually I had somebody else, a professional, do it. So I'm trying to fix all that. And what I discovered is when I grab one of these websites and throw it into Page Speed Insight, and then it analyzes it and it real quickly gives you a score, I would always get a score of less than 70 for this particular website we were looking at for comparison. It wasn't my website, but when the contractor I'm working with emailed me the exact same link, when I used their link and did the exact same analysis, the score was over 90 every single time. And that just baffled me.
Okay. So I will, in the workshop here, I will show you kind of like my process of looking at page speed insights and where I go to find information on how to fix that. Because first off, I understand SEO from a strategy standpoint. I do want to make sure everyone knows I'm not like a technical marketer that knows how to code and all this back end stuff, but I can go and find information as how we make adjustments to indicators that page speed insights are giving us to make sure that we can increase that score. So we will get there. But yeah, sometimes with page speed insights, it's not perfect. You do get some variance in scores as well. If you go to HubSpot Grader, or you go to another indicator that might be available, like the Hoth or something like that, they all look at different factors. The reason why I rely primarily on page speed insights and take what information it's giving me is ultimately because that's what Google is looking at. I think it's a company called a technology called Lighthouse. It's the one running page speed insights. Google owns them, and they primarily look at that as a way to rank. But Ray just pointed out here, it might fluctuate every time. It also has to do with things like in that moment, you might have servers that are overrun. There's just a lot of traffic. Like if you go at 5 or 6 p.m., you might get different results than if you ran it at 3 a.m. But ultimately, the opportunities to do better, those shouldn't change too much. And I'll show you those here as well. But yeah, we'll get even more in depth to your question here in just a second.